and then I'll cut it down just a little bit. So, all right, everybody. Hey, welcome into the first episode of We Don't Really Know What. So, we're going to kind of be in development on a name there, but we've got some kind of general ideas. But essentially, just wanted to come to you and give a little introduction tonight and then tell you what this is going to be about. And then, hey, maybe we'll grow into a great name like a puppy that kind of gets dropped off at your doorstep. You know, you don't want to name it for a while and then it just grows into one. So, I'm Jason Deem. I'm going to be one half of this really great looking duo that we're bringing to you here. If you can't see, we're bald and we both have beards. I've just turned almost completely white and look like Gandalf when it comes to the fall. So right now I'm a little thin on it, but I'll be growing it out. But anyway, me and my buddy here, we've known each other for a long time. Graduated from the same high school. I think we graduated about 2 years apart. Played ball together. I'm pretty sure he idolized me for most of his high school days. And so, I'm kind of, we're reconnected. He's somebody that, I've really come to enjoy the company of. He's occasionally funny. He's got some good insight on things, got some similarities with family. And so that's what kind of brings us in front of you tonight. You'll get to know a lot more about us, but John, go ahead and give us your best introduction, buddy.
Wow. So yeah, idolized you. Yeah, definitely.
Oh, I thought so. Yeah.
Who doesn't want to be the starting quarterback on two 1-9 football teams? You know what I'm saying? So
It's a gift.
it's a that's right. So yeah, basically, like you said, we got to know each other, and I can remember us being together in home ec class with Miss Berg. She's passed away now, but I
Oh, I did
remember.
not know.
Yeah, she did just here recently, but
Mm.
I do remember us um, giving her a lot of issues in that class, and a lot different people than we were then.
Uh,
I would say a little bit more mature,
yeah.
not much, but a little bit more mature and uh, a little bit more wiser.
Oh,
Definitely a little
yeah,
bit more wiser. So
definitely.
a little bit,
Yeah,
but
a little bit.
yeah. So I definitely look forward to getting to know you more and grow together and this is just kind of a I mean I bought all this equipment like back in March. I remember, like my wife was like, "What do you want for your birthday?" And I was like, "Man, I really like because my wife she's really gifted too. She's a first grade teacher, but she's a great communicator. She's funny. If if there was someone that I know, like I know her personally. I see her every day, like that spends time with the Lord, and
Mm,
um, she's she's just like us. Like she
yeah,
struggles, like
yeah,
I struggle,
yeah.
and we both have issues, and we got three kids that are 7, 9, and 11. One's super crazy all the time. He's ADHD, and then she's got first graders that she deals with, and I deal with middle schoolers all day. So sometimes we come home and we just don't see eye to eye really well. But when it comes to someone that I know that has a gift and great relationship with the Lord, she's one of those people that I would say I don't know anybody that does it better.
Amen.
And
Yeah.
but yeah, so I wanted to do a podcast with her, and we're working on that, and wanting to do some stuff where we talk about marriage and some of our marriage struggles, and so I've had all this equipment for like I don't know 7 months now, and I finally pulled it out of the box a while ago,
Oh
and
man.
straight up hooked it up, and I started pushing all these buttons over here, and
It,
I'm excited. So
I'm
I
telling
just
you.
I just like I said, I'm an educator. I was an educator. Then I went into the ministry. I got a master's degree to be a pastor and pastor for a while. And I just honestly got burnt out in the church.
Yeah.
And my wife, you know, we dealt with some. But being in the ministry, working in the church is hard. Right? it's a really difficult, especially if you want to see real community and you want to see people change, because the enemy doesn't want you to see people um, delivered.
That's
We
right.
talk about that we're dads and we're dudes and that we're delivered, but like the enemy doesn't want to see people delivered, and we're broken in community, but we're also healed in community. So so the enemy really doesn't want us to be healed and doesn't want us to really have community. It's like I'm telling you when we run, because Jason and I run um, usually once a week. Um, I, I don't really have
Once a
that
week together.
together.
Yeah.
Together, he runs a lot more than that. Like, but we run once a week together, and we talk about the need for community, and um, just having someone to really be transparent and open and honest with, and the world doesn't want transparency, but well, the world wants transparency, but we don't want to deliver transparency because we're afraid of what people are going to think about us, or we're afraid
Yeah.
of how people are going to, especially in the church, in the American church. um, you know, you're supposed to like wear this veil, like this, you're supposed to be different and not like everyone else. But truly, I'm just like everyone else.
Yeah.
I've just got a savior that stands in my place. And
Amen.
so yeah, like that's my goal, is to just talk about some of the things that I have walked through, and some of the things that me and my wife have walked through, and some of the things that I struggle with, because um, you really you really can't grow um, unless you know that other people share your struggles.
Yeah.
And
Well, yeah,
go
man.
ahead.
I mean, and no, I was going to say, I think that's one of the things that I've really come to respect about you is, you do have great transparency and you're authentic, and, you said something about people want transparency. And I think that you're right, but I think it's the reasons why some people want transparency because they either want transparency to confirm that, like, you've fallen in line and you believe the way they believe, or they want transparency that so that there can be some judgment of you. We see that a lot, for those people who are unabashedly raw, and then they, also profess to be Christians. To your point, man, they get just hammered. Like if you're a man of God, and heaven forbid you get cut off in traffic, and you let your middle finger come up, son, and it's somebody. Oh, that's it for you. That kind of thing can't happen, right? So we want transparency, but we want conformity and all these other things. And man, I think that you and I were very similar in the sense that, we're both very flawed and we understand the grace and the mercy that has been extended to our lives. Like anything good that I have in my life, I have not earned it. Now I've worked hard for things that I've gotten professionally. So I don't take that, but like the blessings that I've got has not been from a position of I've earned it. To the contrary, I probably would have done a lot of things that deserved cursings, not blessings. But because of the fact, to your point, we've got a savior who is willing to say, man, there's something in you that I've designed for a real purpose, and I want to guard it, and I want to give you some relationship. And then requires, us being able to have somebody in our lives that we can talk with when we are down. I know a lot of times in my life, when I've thought about being delivered, like I think that that should always equate to happy and peaceful and, all of these. And it's not that way. And, there's a lot of times where life just really like it sucks. I mean, like it sucks. And if you don't have some form of, community where you're able to say, man, I don't know if you've ever been through this before, but this is kind of what I'm going through. I think a lot of times you're kind of like that guy who's in the middle of the ocean without the life preserver or the life raft. You're kind of it's inevitable. You're going to fail because you just can't do it alone. So yeah, man, I'm definitely looking forward to this.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I sent you a quote a couple of days ago that I heard. I believe it was Craig Rochelle that I I'm gonna use his name a lot because I kind of listen to a lot of his. He's a great communicator of the word. Um, I listen to a lot of his podcasts and stuff, but I can't remember exactly how it's stated. But like people are impressed um, by your strengths. Like people are impressed by your strengths, but they're changed through your weaknesses. Like
Mm.
they're like their lives can be like if we're vulnerable and we share our weaknesses and we share our struggles, um, people can then, especially men, as men don't share their struggles. They don't. They struggle with it. They want to talk about how good their job's going, how good their son's doing on the baseball team, um, how all these. It's just we call them old fashioned pissing contests, basically.
Mm.
Um, and we want to share those things, talk about Alabama football or whatever, college football, but we don't get into really. Oh, should I really tell him that my wife and I are super struggling right now and we really could use some help? No, we don't want to show our weakness, but it's only then that we can.
What do you think that's rooted in? I mean, like,
It's a pride. I would say it's pride, but it's also we've been raised like to not be vulnerable. We've been raised as men to not tell people when we're hurting, you know, because I can remember, 10 years old, my cousin or my dad or someone hitting baseballs at because I loved baseball and baseball was kind of you know got me first couple of years of college and I can just remember them hitting balls at me at 10 years old and I'm fielding them and taking them off my chest and they hurt and I'm trying not to cry and it's like don't cry, you know, don't 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 you rub that, don't,
mhm.
because it's like you got to be a man, you got to be a man, and a man doesn't show emotions. But I mean, that's so stupid.
Oh yeah.
That's the furthest thing from the truth is like Jesus. I mean, here's a picture perfect, and we need to let the listeners know that like we got a lot of love for Jesus because He's extended that grace to us and He's extended that mercy to us, and I want people to come in and listen to us that maybe not they're not believers.
Oh, for
And
sure. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not forcing anything on anyone. I'm not trying to do that, but like he was one of the most vulnerable. I mean, I can think about him at the Garden of Gethsemane.
Mm, absolutely.
Um, you know, him just praying and when he was praying, he was sweating and sweating drops of blood. And then he went back to his disciples, who was kind of his community, and he's like, "Look, why are y'all asleep? Like I'm hurting here. Like I, I'm struggling. I know what's coming,
Right.
and I just really need you guys to stay awake and pray for me. You know, like what's wrong with you? That I mean, he was vulnerable. He was. I can see him.
Absolutely.
You read the Bible, and people think of him as a superhero, and he was
Oh,
superhero.
certainly. Yeah.
He was a human being. He didn't walk through that without the emotions of a man.
Well,
And
even in his pleading, with the Father in those last times when he says, Lord, I mean, if it be thy will, let this cup pass from me. I mean, he's at that point in time, he's saying, listen, I understand like the necessity of this, but Lord, if there is any other way, you know, let's spare this thing. So I think even in that moment, he's, revealing this vulnerability that says, I'm willing to do what's necessary, but gosh, I don't want to. And I think sometimes as dads, that's where we're at. Like, man, we're willing to do it, but goodness, man, if there's another way around it, like, please show me.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, I definitely see that. I like I said, it just we've been taught. We've been taught a lot, you know, rub some dirt on it, get up, get back in the game. And, sometimes sometimes I'm not ready to get back in the game. I'm not ready to go back in without dealing with my hurt, with my brokenness. And so really finding someone, in your life, or being that person, being that kind of person, it really does take a lot of pride swallowing, because we don't want to we don't want to show that to anybody. And you know
And
and
I
it's
think
really
there's
healthy.
Yeah, and I was going to say I think, and I do think it's very healthy, and I do want to say, like, neither one of us are advocating being the kind of people who are always, woe is me and life sucks and I mean nothing's going good. I mean, we're not saying, to walk around with you're always kind of living in the bad that's happening, but there is that point where I think from an emotional standpoint, like you're going to have some type of an emotional release, and I don't know about you, John, but like for me when I don't have an emotional release that's in a healthy way, it's going to come out in a very unhealthy way. And at that point in time, like man, my dad and I, like for anybody who knows my dad, great man. I mean, I've just really admired him my whole life. But he was also the kind of guy who like he would let emotions build up almost like a pressure cooker, man. And finally, when that top came off and all that steam came out of there, it didn't matter who was around, you were going to get burned. And through his life, he learned how to start to process those things better and tried to lead a better example. But realistically, he was still cut from that same cloth of rub some dirt on it and everything else. And so that's me. Like I will get to and I can almost feel it coming. And we'll probably get into that kind of feeling it coming and not being able to avoid it another day. But, it's one of these things where if we don't learn to process those things in a healthy way, that's why you got so many situations right now, that are out there where, I think some of us guys react in ways that we're just after the fact, we're like, oh my gosh, like I know so much better than that. But it's because we don't know how to deal with it in a healthy way. We very rarely, to your point, we don't call up our buddy and like, man, I'm at a breaking point. Like we wait till our kids do something bad and then we just blast them. And in that moment, you almost feel that pressure go down. And then in that moment after that, you go, oh my gosh, I've just thrown shrapnel at the very people I love the most. And so, that's what I hope we can do throughout this, man. I know we could kind of kick this topic back and forth for hours, but, throughout this thing, that's what I know we're wanting to do is to talk about those situations. And, we're going to talk like pointedly. And, John's already said his wife, Kelly, she's authentic as he is. He was very humble. If you didn't catch it, he said she was gifted too. So he made sure to throw himself in that gifted field. So I appreciated that a lot. But
I remember saying that.
we're going to throw our real world scenarios out here, guys. And so we're going to talk through these things. And I will tell you, I know on this side, I'm not professing to be an expert at anything. And so, I'm hoping to learn as much as anything. And, certainly from John's end, he does have a very unique perspective. He has been, educated in a seminary. And so he's had the opportunity to really study the word from a different perspective, but that doesn't change his struggles at all. There's not a man walking who doesn't have struggles like we all do. And so we're going to talk through them. We're going to walk through them. And really, I hope that these are things that are parallel with a lot of other guys' lives, John, because I think that, it doesn't matter where you're raised, what your color is, anything. If you've got a family, if you've got a job, if you've got kids, if you've got a wife, whatever the situation is, you're walking through the same challenges as we are every single day here in Huntsville, Alabama.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just because and you know, humbly, I want to be humble. Just because I graduated from seminary, just because I can parse a word in Greek, um, doesn't mean that I can, pick myself up. I can't. And one of the things that, and nothing wrong with anyone going to seminary, nothing wrong with anyone getting, doing that. But I learned a lot of things through just walking through hard knocks, just
Yeah.
walking through situation. Like, there was no class in seminary for being at the bottom of the hole, you know, and feel like people are just shoveling dirt on top of you. There was there was no class that prepared me for that. There was no class that prepared me for the after I graduated. You know, walking through some really tough times in marriage. I mean, I had a biblical counseling class or two, but I didn't expect to have to use them.
In your
The
house.
things that I read about and the you know because you don't expect it, and when you're walking through it, it's hard to look over at someone that you're struggling with and open up a book and say, well, this is what I learned. So yeah, it's a lot of stuff that we need to learn just by walking through it and having others to help us walk through those things.
Yeah.
So, anyways,
Yep. Well, I think that's a good first start here, man. I look forward to really getting into some topics as we go through it. And again, one thing I do want to say is both John and I are both believers. We are going to point a lot of things back to, some spirituality here. But as John indicated, this is not a force feeding session for anybody. Actually, I'll be real with you. I'm not here to really change your mind because I and Jason cannot and John cannot. What I would like to do with you though is share some of the experiences we've had. And you know what? Maybe that's something you can draw some strength on. And I'd love for you to share your experiences with us because we'd love to draw strength on them. We will talk about other things. We'll talk about, how much faster I am than John and how much more handsome he is than me. And, we'll have some fun with it. We'll certainly get the better halves that we have on here at some point in time, which are Kelly and Kim. We'll talk, kind of some relational things with them. We'll introduce our kids at various times, so it's either going to be fun or interesting or both. But one way or another, we're excited about it. So, John, do you got anything else, man, before we wrap this up?
no, I got one thing because I'm kind of like you. I want people to understand that like this is like we're not trying to we're not trying to pull listeners in by being something that we're not, and we want to be and we've talked about this on our jogs, on our runs, on our hikes. When you're way up in front of me because you are faster than me, and I'm having to yell at you from behind. We've talked about how we want this to be true. We
Mm.
just want it to be true of who we are and how we're trying to walk through this life. And maybe, just maybe, people can listen and say, "Hang on, I would really love to learn more about this transparency thing, this community thing, and be able to walk through some of the issues that they're struggling with as well." So we just we're never going to be fake.
Yeah.
Um, we're going to be honest and you know probably share some things that we probably haven't even shared with other people before. So I see that. But anyway, so yeah,
Yeah.
just being an example or a hope for others is a goal of mine. Just people that are maybe in a hopeless situation finding hope through two idiots that have just kind of walked through this life and just this much learned how to walk through it and find some hope through first of our Lord, but through others as well.
That's awesome.
So
That's awesome, man. Well, all right, guys, we're going to leave it right there. Next time around, we'll jump into a couple topics here. And certainly, we look forward to hearing from you as we evolve. We'll try our best to have a name for this when we post it. And if not, heck, we'll work on it next week. So, anyway,
maybe some people can come, give us some name ideas.
yeah, we'll take some name ideas. I'm gonna have this posted on my Hope Motivation page. We'll also try to get this out on Spotify, so you guys be on the lookout for it. Talk to you next
All right.
week. All right, see you, John.
Yeah.
All right, man. So that's a pretty good one right there.
Yeah, I mean, I think it flowed pretty well.